Hey everyone, welcome to the Front Porch. This month we have a special guest panel. My buddy, the head of AI at Point of Rental, Matt Gaffin, he also had a panel at the ARA show, and I wanted to share that with you because I think it was an interesting conversation with a few former guests of the podcast and some interesting rental leaders on the podcast. So we had Brittany Haas from Crown Rental, we had Grant Christopher from Christopher Equipment, and eventually, a few minutes into the podcast, we had Anthony Durante from The Owl, formerly of Durante Rentals, and now part of Point of Rental. Anyway, I hope you get something from their insights. If you have your own feedback about AI and how it's helped you in your rental business, or if you have an idea for someone you want to be on the Front Porch, let me know about that too. Email me at marketing@pointofrental.com. Hope you enjoyed the panel, and I'll see you next month.
Welcome to the Front Porch with Brian Beaudry. Okay, so today we're here to talk about things that make us faster, help us analyze things better, and automate some of the things that we're now seeing possible with AI. So, I think it's about practicality and like real world, like what's happening, what's real. And so just kind of want to talk to you guys about, what's interesting and useful to you, essentially. So, when did AI go from interesting to useful? And I guess we can kind of do this, like if you each want to answer, one of you wants to.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I can't even, it kind of just happened so fast. I don't even remember, we just started using it like every day at that point. So kind of came out of nowhere, so I don't even really have a good answer for you on that one.
I'll have to second.
No specifics. There wasn't like it. Oh my! So, for me, it was definitely. I was talking back and forth to a coworker. This was like 3 years ago, and he was saying something sarcastic, and I realized that I could beat his sarcasm with a rhyme, and so I started rhyming. They had no idea; they didn't even know what AI was, and so we were having this entire conversation, like, oh my gosh, Gaffin has these crazy skills. Yeah. And so for me, it was like, oh my, what else could we do with this? And so it kind of went from there.
See, and I didn't even start using it in a professional setting first. I started using it at home. I had it painting walls for me. I had it elevating my bathroom for me. It showed me what my hair was going to look like depending on what length I wanted to cut it, dressing me in clothes, finding clothes. And I started using it that way before I really started, and just to understand it, to learn it, to talk to it. And now I use it at work, and I tell it, like, well, we can't use that tone. Let's change it, the tone a little bit. You can't use my at-home tone versus my professional tone. We got to have two different tones here.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and I think that, the personal life does correlate right into your business because, that's typically the brain you have at home is the same brain you have in the office. And
yeah. You just turn on your professional voice when you're in the office.
That's it. Still nothing for you?
No. I pretty much use it exclusively at work. So,
exclusively at work?
I don't really use it much at home. I mean, sometimes kind of as like a search engine, but it's mostly just a work tool for me.
Okay. So I've got a 5-year-old daughter, and one of my favorite use cases is at night, her name is Claire, and so I say, tell me a story about Claire Bear, and it'll make up this story, and I mean, she'll just go on for 30 minutes and just want story after story, and it's just telling this long thing. So
nice, yeah.
Maybe you take that one home.
Yeah, maybe.
You said you had kids. So.
Oh, yeah.
Not too old for stories?
No.
Never.
Yeah, right. So sometimes they're even fun. So what are you actually using it for now? So like current usage, we kind of talked a little bit about personal, but how often? Like daily, weekly?
Yeah, so ChatGPT is a permanent tab open in my browser. Right now, I view it more as like an assistant. So what can it do for me that'll get at least 80% right and do it in 2 seconds, and then I can go put my polish on it or try to remove some of the telltale signs that AI wrote it, because I get so sick of seeing AI. You can just tell when they
get
just
those EM dashes out of there.
The M dashes, yes. I go in and remove them. It doesn't matter how many times you tell it not to put that in there, it'll put it in there. But yeah, so SOP generation, I mean, that's a massive time saver. It used to take hours to type up an SOP. Now I can have a bulk of the work done in 5 seconds and then go put my edits on it. Do that. Making emails better. I can just type like what I'm trying to say, let it make a professional email. send that on.
So we had operations, a little bit of marketing and sales
Oh
there.
yeah, content
Yeah.
generation as far as like the captions on social media postings. Just little stuff like that, but when you add all that together, you really save a lot of time in your day and you get a lot more done. And even like reasoning through issues, like talking to it, trying to brainstorm or solve an issue has been pretty beneficial. So.
What kind of issues, like, can you give any specifics?
How to handle some employee issues, make sure you're thinking clearly. Sometimes you can get a little upset and it'll calm you down a little bit.
So be honest here, be a little honest here. Have you ever just like, this is what I want to say, now make this not sound
You don't even
that
have
way.
to
I
do
have,
that.
I have, yeah.
ChatGPT will automatically calm it down for you. Sometimes I have to tell it to get a little more aggressive, honestly. But yeah, I've definitely done that before too.
Yeah, I've had it comparing different businesses for me. It's like, okay, this payroll company, this payroll company, this payroll company. Tell me everything you
Oh,
can
yeah.
about this platform on each one. Which one's
So
better?
research.
Reviews. What are everybody's pros, cons? Why are they switching? Why are they not switching? How are they doing everything? And then I'll just walk away from it and I'll come back and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I asked ChatGPT a question an hour ago.
Yeah. So one of my favorite. So I'm a big fan of like people use ChatGPT and they ask it these questions and expect these amazing answers back. But the reality of it is, rather than asking it for your opinion, which is what you're doing a lot of the time, go tell it to do some research and then based on the research, give me an opinion or a summary, and it's so much better at that.
Yeah. And it all comes down to how you talk to it too. The more specific you are, the better answer you're going to get out of it. Because it'll give you a Johnny Schmo answer. And it's like, yeah, that's not really what I want. This is what I want. And I use it for marketing 100%. It saves me so much time. It creates my images. I go in, I'll erase the images it put in my actual products and create graduation equipment. This is how you do things. And then I just put my touch on it, make it magical.
Yeah.
I want more emojis in this. Add more emojis. I don't
You
want
want
to go hunting.
more emojis.
I don't want to go hunting for emojis. I have it currently. It's writing my Indeed job descriptions.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But Indeed doesn't like emojis, so I have to go in and take all the emojis out.
I mean, the nice thing is it's one prompt to get them in and one prompt to get them out. I personally have the prompt that says get them out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually erasing those as well. And on the job posting thing, that is a major time saver. We use Culture Index for employee surveys. You have your ideal like profile type for a job. You can say, hey, go type a job posting up for this with that tailored to this Culture Index. It's just so nice. It does such a good job at it. So.
And then do you have it analyze the incoming?
No, I don't.
No.
But how you type a job ad can appeal to certain types of people more than others. So you want to try to appeal to who you're trying to get.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I definitely learned that when I was a little bit younger and I was buying and selling guitars. And I played guitars. I was just trying to trade up to a bigger one using Craigslist. And I realized that if I bought these cheap guitars, fixed them up, replaced the strings, made them sound a little bit nicer, but then wrote them up as, hey, this is a great beginner guitar for your student who is learning how to play. Any guitar is great for that student beginner, but mothers were buying these guitars from me, and I was like, wow, just because I'm saying that.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
you say totally matters.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you? So you mentioned marketing. Have you had it do any research on go find me jobs and events that maybe we could market to?
I haven't yet.
Yeah, I haven't really either. I've found that sometimes it feeds you too much trash, and then I just get frustrated, and I'll just go do it myself. So
Fair. So one of the use cases and scenarios that I love is go research all the events coming up in my area, and then cross-reference it with some of put your categories of equipment in there, just a small list of equipment. So cross-reference it with this, and come up with a talk track that we could use to sell these things. And so it'll go do its research, find all the events, and then say, now write me up an email. And by the way, part of the research is grab the email address of the contact for the event it'll write up the email, and then all you do is copy, paste, send them out there. And look, you were never going to reach out anyway.
Yeah.
So what do you have to lose?
Yeah, that's true.
Even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you were never going to do that.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I know we used it, I'm on our local Rotary, and we used it in trying to find local bands to play at our fundraising event.
Yeah.
Like who's local, who's around here, who's popular that people want, who's not going to break our budget because this is a fundraising event. And all of a sudden I'm throwing all these names out, and they're like, how did you do that so fast? I'm like, I'm on ChatGPT. Like I live on
Yeah.
here right now.
So we've been talking about artificial intelligence. We're about to give the audience a real demonstration of what that looks like. So, like we said, we're talking about artificial intelligence. This is an example of what happens. So AI, for some people, stands for artificial intelligence. For us, it's Anthony intelligence. And now you can see we've got, Anthony joining us here, just like that. So we were talking about AI and like practical use cases and kind of how we use it and some of the ways we're using it. But where is it delivering real value? ROI, stuff like that. And if you had to quantify it, like what is, or have you? Maybe you haven't measured it yet.
I haven't ventured into it yet. It's on my to-do list. I was trying to get it done before we came to the show, and then I realized I got behind on my marketing, so I figured I should probably get ahead on that. But I'm getting ready to start plugging numbers into it and having it play with the business, and I haven't done it yet. But I'm excited to do so.
So like increased close rates, better improved pricing, better asset.
Better pricing, better asset, better just across the board.
And so you've noticed this.
I've noticed other people using it, so I want to see where I can make it better.
So I haven't personally had a great experience plugging data into AI. It just doesn't understand really the context of your business and why certain things are important. It's just looking at strictly numbers. So I don't really use it much in that aspect yet. Hopefully it'll get better. I guess you could do some training on that to improve that. I just haven't. So yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I believe we sold the business, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, but AI wasn't the same topic of conversation in 2026, so I haven't really had any implementation in the business. But one thing I believe is that it's going to definitely speed up a lot of the job functions. But at the end of the day, my foundation is it's always going to have to be driven on logic. So for me, I'm still in the logic phase. Obviously, I've taken a new position recently, but I'm going to you as the AI expert to take flight to logic. And I do apologize for being late, but as I told him off camera, when you're chasing somebody for 11 years and you have that opportunity at this show, like it was kind of hard to peel away. So thank you.
Well, I was going to say, when you're a wizard, you can arrive late and it's still on time, right?
Yes.
And actually, I never made it here. I am an AI image created by ARA.
Exactly. Yeah, when you talk about where you kind of mentioned how it's not always working for you. What are some examples of things you've tried this did not work, this is not?
Yeah, if you try to make it look at, I guess, utilization and what do I need to buy more of, where can we move some equipment to get, better physical utilization.
So you're asking big questions.
Ideally, yeah, that's the stuff that's hard to figure out. That's where I want help at, and it's just not there yet. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes with layers and learning to use different types of modeling and different modeling systems, but you're never going to just get that straight answer because like you said, it just doesn't know. It doesn't have the context, right? It can't possibly know.
And then another issue is you're basically feeding it data in a single snapshot.
Right.
I almost feel like you need to have a continuous flow of data into this so it can see what's changing and what's happening, not just where are we at right now, because it's always, your business is always changing.
Right. I think that's why you're hearing so much buzz around agentic AI, right? The idea of agentic AI is that you would break that up into small pieces, right? You're going to have one small request. Hey, go find this thing for me. Now you're going to take that and you're going to transfer it to another AI that's going to find that thing, refine that thing. You take it from a different AI and you say, okay, now go run an analytic and go pull another thing. And once you start to layer it on like that, you start to get a much higher percentage, I think, and that's kind of why we've been moving in that direction. One of the ladies in the audience asked, which models do you use? Do you use Grok? Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use Claude? Thought that'd be an interesting question. Like, what do y'all use?
I've only used ChatGPT so far. I haven't ventured out into any of the others.
Yeah, I'm ChatGPT paid as well.
My thing is, and to answer your question in a roundabout way, but what I think we're underserved on is everybody talks about AI. Everybody mentions all the platforms. We know that the software companies are moving into AI, so from a software perspective, that's kind of covered. But as far as assistants and, other functions within the organization, let's just say like HR. HR is not necessarily covered by the software companies. So I think, for anybody listening out there, but there's an underserved market of just teaching owners how do you use AI, right? Because everybody hears AI, they're like, oh, I'm going to go to ChatGPT and whatnot. But if there's an expert out there that can help companies do all the other functions other than the software, I think that would be something that would really be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest pieces of advice is, you got to try it too, though. You got to experiment. I mean, we talked about it in the beginning of the show. Brittany, you started by taking pictures of your living room and saying, hey, what would it look like if I did this? And it's great at doing that. Until you try it, you're not going to know. And so I think, using all the different platforms, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, and figure out what they're good at, because they're all going to be good at different things.
Yeah.
And I
guess I never really think about Gemini. It's on my phone. I use it obviously all the time because it's a part of Google. I never think about that. That's an AI that I'm using.
So Gemini is the best at pictures. You want to create a picture, you go to Gemini, right? You want to have an emotional conversation, you go to ChatGPT. You want more analytical, Claude. Claude's amazing at that, right? And then if you want to do something that's not safe for work, you go to Grok. There's a lot of, those aren't like strict. That's closer to my experience and how it's been used.
So there's one issue I think is part of it's switching cost of I've already fed so much into what I started with that I don't, like if I go to a new platform, it's not going to have all that stored and you have all your previous conversations. And so that's been kind of like the hang up for me is like I've already poured a lot of time into this. It's got a lot of information about me. Like I don't want to start over, I guess.
Yep.
You've already made that relationship.
Yeah. We're already dating, so.
And I think, you talk about, kind of our next section here is to talk about, barriers and concerns. And I think, the barrier to switch, and the barrier to do different things, that's a real thing, right? And that's, in some ways, that might hold you back because some of the different models actually have some great features around that aren't available on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you lose all your history.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's some, Gemini being built in like Google's workspace, and then you get Copilot from Microsoft. So there's like some attractive things to like go down that because it has, if your whole workspace is in there, it sees your docs, it sees your sheets, it sees your slides. Like there's a lot of good data in there that it could utilize. That would be pretty cool as well.
Yeah. What are some of your initial fears? Like, what are the things that have maybe prevented you from becoming like just all the way AI, using it for everything?
I don't know that it's necessarily a fear, but it's that you don't know what all you can actually utilize it for. It's the unknown, and how far you can take and then make it. What to ask it, how to get there, but then how real is it actually going to be?
My worry is, where is my data going? What are they going to do with it? Can it be used against me for something? Or, can it be sold? Like, there's a lot of scary stuff because you can plug in some, pretty personal data. I try not to put too much personal information in there if I can help it, but there is the worry of that. Or even your employees plugging stuff in that, it's like, we shouldn't be doing this. Like they might not have the same concerns and you're just feeding it whatever. And it's like, where is this going? That's my main concern with AI, and just the lack of authenticity that, there's just, everybody's getting hit over the head with it at this point. Like it's so easy to spot AI generated everything. It gets exhausting almost. It's like, you almost appreciate when someone types up something that was their own thoughts, you know.
My concern is more from an industry standpoint is, we're not a very sophisticated industry. A lot of people do not know time you or work budgets, and my only concern is we have this amazingly powerful and intelligent tool, and at the end of the day, for the most part, from what I see today, is it relies a lot on crowdsourcing. And my only concern is that the industry, is following down a path of what's most normal or what's most consistent, and not necessarily what's most cutting edge. So it's how do we pick the top 3, 5, or 10% of the ideas and make sure that AI doesn't bury them under what the general consensus is. Because if we're going to follow a general consensus, then pick your average company in the average spot of America, and that might become what it is, because who's validating that the one voice in 100, right? If one voice in 100 is technically genius, 99 other people are not going to see it, and a GPT is not going to turn around and correct everybody else, just going to go with the flow. So that's my concern, is this amazing tool, but how do we know? I think there's going to be a lot of charlatans and a lot of fake software coming out. How do we pick and choose which are the right ones to move into the future with?
Yeah, I agree, and I think so much of it still it's always going to come back to you got to keep your eyes open. You got to try it, and you got to validate it, which we kind of talked about, right? And if you've got issues with security and data privacy, that should be an issue, right? That is something you should absolutely be thinking about. But at the same time, it should be a hurdle and not a barrier, right? It can be gotten past, and so I think there are ways to turn off the training. Like it's a toggle. Hey, don't train on my data. Now it's not trained anymore, right? They store it for 7 to 30 days just for logging purposes, but it never goes anywhere. Then it's deleted and it's gone. Obviously, if you turn on your memories, then it's going to remember that as long as it needs to. But they're not training off of it, which means you're not going back out into the hive mind, I guess you could call it.
Right.
Right. And then for businesses, like what we would do is we would typically train our own models that are totally proprietary and they don't go anywhere but internally, and that's the ultimate degree of safety. And that's why partnering with a big company is kind of nice. But, so with regards to getting staff to use it, how do you all feel about getting others to use it? And would you encourage it? Would you discourage it? What's your policy?
I'm pretty neutral. Really, it's kind of managers and up at this point, and I can see when they've sent me something they've generated with AI. It's just obvious by the formatting, but they're kind of using it in the same vein I am. It's mainly just a time saver, So
yeah.
Mine have started using it for emails, making their emails sound more professional. Doug just used it the other day to write an introduction speech for somebody that he was introducing into the Hall of Fame for our local state association. And he's like, I just plugged the information in and they wrote it up. Well, then the next guy also did the same thing.
Yeah.
But they were two completely different. You couldn't tell that they were AI generated. They added their own to it. They made it sound better. But yeah, my guys use it all the time for emails. Anytime they're generating any emails, I've updated even in Point Rental using some of the AI stuff in there to spice up the emails. I'm like, okay, these are too bland, these are too boring. Let's make this sound more friendly. Let's make it sound inviting. I just booked your graduation party. Let's be excited about it.
Yeah, my focus has been, how do we use it to drive strategic direction, in a sense, like who's training the trainer right now. So, I know a lot of software companies are working on, more of that at the desk, taking it from 3 minutes and 12 steps to 1 minute and simultaneous, not even seconds, right? Simultaneous emails and whatnot. But for me, my direction is really trying to leapfrog all of that and just go for how does this go into a boardroom, especially for companies that maybe are $1 million to $3 million that have never really had a boardroom meeting or really never set budgets. How do we get them to level up and become more professional? And the good thing is, even those that have in the past, the reporting is always, cumbersome and lagging. So they put a budget out there, but they're not tracking it every day. And then eventually, they're not sharing it with the team. The data's in a silo. And then it just kind of goes by the wayside throughout the year. My thing is how do we use the AI to keep this in front of everybody and pull in the reporting that every day everybody is keeping held to a strategic goal, not just using the AI for desk functions.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most understated use cases for AI right now. If you think about it, in GPT, the G stands for generative, right? It is amazing at generating stuff from nowhere, right? It does that. And it's good at summarizing. And at the end of the day, it works based on what it's trained off of, what it knows. So whatever information was fed in, that's what it knows. And it generally does a nearly perfect job of spitting that back out. And so if you're talking about, well, how do I get a specific message out to my company? Oh man, I'm not a great writer. It takes me a while. Well, go summarize these help documents, these policy documents, and go come up with a marketing campaign for it. Blast a little bit out each day, and now you've got this something that you never would have dreamed of doing. And also, when you get responses, hey, aggregate these responses for me, and you're being real specific about the data you're feeding into it. It's going to do a good job of that. And so I think the transfer of information is one place where people don't often think oh, it's really useful there. I know Point of Rental has used it for the help desk bot, right? We have found that just feeding it stuff, it can now answer questions so much better. And maybe it's 95% right. Well, you know what? We're probably only 95% right when we're answering the questions most of the time because it's complicated.
That's right.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Yep.
I think a lot of people are worried about, being replaced, and that's a big topic of conversation. Topic of conversation. What do y'all think about that? Do you think you're worried about it, or?
I mean, in our industry, it's hard to be replaced. You kind of have to be there to do a lot of it. I mean, will it maybe replace jobs? Maybe, but I think it will help people replace themselves so they can do something better in the business. And our job as leaders is to basically fire ourselves from our job because we've trained somebody else to do it just as good, if not better, than what we did, so we can go on and do the next best thing.
When was the last time you were like, man, I have nothing else to do? If I had nothing, if I killed my plate, I would be done. No.
Right?
Yeah.
So essentially that's our job. And if AI can help us do that and help us achieve that, that's going above and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll definitely, you could say take jobs, but I think those people can find something better to do. Rental's still very much a relationship business, and people, even if you have an AI agent on the phone that sounds realistic, people can just tell when they're not talking to a human. We might get there eventually, so it'll be exciting to see, but I think people will just get different type jobs. So.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be relevant. It's going to be very difficult to say that it's not going to replace jobs, right? We're all looking to cut our costs. My recommendation for anybody out there listening is just make ChatGPT or any other of these platforms, make it your best friend, right?
Yeah.
As much as it might be scary, people are going to figure it out, and not somebody really has to be you. And my second recommendation on that one is just make sure to say please and thank you, so when the machines take over, you're on the right side of that war, because I've seen the Terminator before, right?
Yeah.
So.
I like to say AI won't replace people, but people that use AI will replace people that don't.
That's
Yes,
correct.
that's-
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you have nothing to lose from using it. And if you're afraid, don't tell it your name. Don't tell it how old you are, whatever,
Yeah.
right? You choose what you tell it.
Yeah.
It's an undeniable wave that's coming. You might as well figure out how to ride it.
Right. If you were starting today, what's the first AI, like starting your rental business today, what's the first AI use case you would implement? Like, what would you say, all right, we're gonna do this differently than we do it now?
Boy.
That's tough. I like how we're using it now. I think we would just be farther along in a shorter amount of time with the help of AI. I can't say we would have changed too much.
No, nothing like, hey, these are all the things I'm thinking about, renting. What are some other synergies? What other equipment? What other?
See, and that's probably where maybe even before I've opened, I've done the research myself, but now I've thrown it into AI and I've said, hey, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the location I want to be. Who's my competition around me? What are they doing? What are their reviews looking like? What can I do to be a step above them?
Yeah.
And what area of expertise?
Maybe even less from the competitive scene. What can I do that they're not doing or
Right.
not thinking about? What's underserved in this area? What are some things that nobody's thinking about?
Right. Yeah. Just what can we do to grow it? And there's the driving around, there's the online searching, there's doing all of that, but then there's the plugging this into AI and walking away while you go make lunch or something and come back and see what it told you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And, sometimes you meet people that are not from this industry, right? Not born into it, and let's say they're from banking. And there's a difference between those type of people and traditional legacy, second generation, whatnot. And one thing that they do that we typically don't do when you grow up in the business is policies and procedures and a handbook from day one. And it's really hard to try to loop around later on. And if you're going to hire sophisticated or people that from good career paths, and you're going to bring them into rental, oftentimes they say, "Where's the manual? Where's the handbook?" And a lot of us really just don't have it. So my thing is, if I had to redo a business today, that policy and procedure manual will be in place day one. Whereas historically, also people were like, "Well, I'm not going to write it because it's always evolving." Okay, well now with these tools that are, you can write it in the night,
Yeah.
And tomorrow you could rewrite it. So I think that that's like, if you're listening and you're not with policies and procedures, is just start playing around and just start building a manual immediately. It'll be better because even though you might know the business, your employees might not know the same exact lines in the sand. And when you're hiring people that are more sophisticated, which is what you want to bring into your organization, they're going to be looking for that. And to me, if I went in a company today and they didn't have that stuff in place, that's not a company I would want to be in.
Yeah.
Because they're missing kind of like step 2 after like the org chart and core values.
The best part about, kind of a plug for having policies and procedures, like, first of all, I hate reading policies and procedures. Like when I have a question about HR, the last thing I want to do is read through that. I'm just going to message my HR person and say, hey, what happens, if I run out of PTO and I need to take 5 more days off? What holidays do we get off this year? But so you generate it, and then you feed it back into AI, you give your company a bot, and now they don't have to read it either. Nobody has to read it. You just, you get a bot to talk to, and it's game changing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you think about like underused data, like policies and procedures, I think that's super underused. What else is there? Utilization, price history. Like, what are some things that we can be doing more with?
So it's all, how much time do you have in the day to analyze the data, because there's so much data in rental. So like looking at repair trends, trying to see like when you dispose of assets based on like when repairs increase, like what age, what hours. So like that's a lot of work to check into. How to balance fleet across multi-site. If you talk to your managers, everybody needs everything, but do you really? And like, do I have time to dig into the physical and financial utilization of all these different CAT classes at each store level to figure out how to move it? Because that's always evolving. So like there's a lot of time savings that you could have. It's just tough to look at that right now. So
yeah, so you need it to be more accessible.
It needs to be integrated.
Yeah.
I think is the key. So it's got that constant flow of data in there, and you don't there's so many different logins now. It's nice to be able to go somewhere and have like a centralized viewpoint.
Well, what if you don't have to go somewhere? What if it just tells you?
Well, that'd be great.
That'd be great. Yeah. You log in and say, hey, can you look this up for me today? And
I think that's one of the, if I was going to make a prediction about where like even the chat GPTs and all those things are going, just wait till they start pulling out the features that are, we're going to send you a notification. So actually chat GPT did that like maybe a year ago, and then they pulled it. But you could tell it to do something and then send you a reminder about it. And once AI can start reminding you to do things, I mean, it gets really interesting fast.
yeah.
I think, the question was what metric right, will we put in place?
What's underused data?
Yeah. So one of the things, and I apologize if it's, if somebody heard this, somebody heard this over this weekend already, but one thing that I'm, currently promoting is the total recordable incident rate, which is the amount of injuries you have, how many times people go. I think the qualification is when they walk into like a walk-in clinic. Mm-hmm. When somebody walks into a medical clinic, you now have a recordable incident, and that's measured for every 100,000 person hours in the company, how many times does somebody get injured. And I said that at Durante Rentals, right, we were a very cutting edge company, but we didn't really look at that, and our rate was over 10, and never a major incident. I mean, the stupidest things that you can imagine. We put a nurse's hotline in and mandated that no employee can go without calling the nurse's hotline, and that cut down more than half of the incidents. So right off the bat, we got down to 5 in no time. It takes a year to flush through that. But we also hired a team that had United and Herc background and all these national companies. And the biggest thing is if you look at these national companies, you'll notice all the vehicles are parked backed in. And when you go to most independent companies, the pickup trucks are parked front in. That right there tells you right off the bat that they don't have a policy in play, a good safety program in place. The reason I bring up safety program is, and this has been verified by Brendan Horgan, right? This is his opinion as well, but if you have a low rate, it means that you have the hardest metric under control. And it's the hardest metric because you can cut corners to drive revenue, right? You can skip certain steps. We all do it. But when it comes to safety, if you stop everything because a taillight is broke on a piece of equipment, that flies in the face of revenue. So if you have a good safety track record, it means that your team can implement anything else, because that's the hardest one to keep under control. And then what happens is, suppose one of these national companies, you want to get bought, if they'd never even go to your organization first, if they know you're a 1.0 or less, they already know what type of conversation they're going to have in your boardroom. They already know the type of sophistication of the company that they're dealing with. Then the second thing is if they go to your yard and everybody's in steel-toed boots, everybody's got safety glasses on and safety vests on, and all the trucks are reversed in, they already know what type of company they're going to have in the boardroom. The same way that when we go to customers, if your customer has a dirt yard that's unpaved and the equipment looks like it's ready for the junk pile somewhere, you know that they're probably going to be ordering last minute from you. You know that there's going to be a lot of mistakes. You know that that customer probably not is going to pay their bill right away, because if they can't take care of the basics on physical presentation, there's downstream effects to things like that. So if you have a lower total recordable incident rate, two things is, number one is you're able to get onto like all the data sites that mandate, government jobs are mandating that you have a 1.0, you have to keep these records. Yeah. And the second thing is if you can get an extra quarter of a turn, a 4.0 multiple versus a 4.25, that quarter of a turn could be worth hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. And to me, if somebody gets hurt, it's too late to try to put something in place. So just get ahead of it. But to answer your point, it's hard to track the rate because it's not in our systems. But same thing with the policy and procedure manuals. You can start tomorrow and go in and say, what do I need to do? And immediately roll out to your company. Right. ChatGPT can now be your best friend to try to roll this out. Not the HR person, right? Because not everybody has HR, not everybody has a safety officer. But if you can commit to it with this, have an assistant like you. I don't want to write policy all night long, but this will do it.
So what you're saying is we need the Anthony bot, where it's like, hey, what would Anthony do in this situation?
Well, I didn't have an Anthony bot, but I did have an algorithm. Right? Algo is my mascot. So
there it is. I love it. Yeah. So I know we're within the last few minutes here. So final question. Thinking 3 years ahead into the future, right? And where will AI matter the most in rental? Forecasting, dynamic pricing, inventory optimization, automated quoting.
I think it's going to be everywhere. I think it's going to help us in every aspect. I think it's going to help us continue to build our businesses. Independents, smaller independents that are utilizing it, it's going to help them plan their future purchases. It's going to help them see what equipment's coming and going. It's going to help them with that. And that's somebody like me, somebody who's smaller and independent, and taking that information, being able to grow and build off of it.
Yeah, so all that stuff you said was great, and I'm looking forward to all that. I think what it really does is let independents operate on a level that's more competitive with the nationals, because, we don't have teams of analysts and team of HR. We don't have all that, right. So we're working with less, so it lets us operate and compete with them with less people. So it'll level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have flying cars by now, and I thought that if we had phones, or TVs, everybody would use it. Right back in the 80s, I'm a little older, and here we have it, and no one uses it. So, who knows where it's going to go? There's no question that it's a game changer. Yeah. It's going to be a monster. I appreciate that this industry, which is typically behind the curve, is trying its best to get ahead. There's no industry better served for AI than the rental space, because it's a lot of sophistication, right? It's a lot going on in your rental operation, and we all know, we don't have high salaries in our, on average compared to other places, but we are definitely a very complex industry. So I don't know. I'm excited though to see where I'm going to rely on you now that we're working together.
Well, so if you guys want to come over to booth 2647, feel free to come by, have a conversation. We'd love to chat with you. And we think we have a happy hour tonight at the Palm Tree Club. Definitely RSVP at pointofrental.com. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and catch y'all later.